Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Roundtable. So in these roundtables, I just give you a quick little assignment and thing to think about for this month. I like to keep them really short and just let the presentation be something that just gives you some quick action steps for you to go through some of the material in the program and just give you another way of thinking about it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to actually, you know what? I'm going to share the kind of the concepts that I want you to think about, and then I'm going to draw your attention to some of the core trainings in the members area. So what I want you to think about this month is I know that a lot of you like you might be working on something specific at your facility. Maybe you have some kind of initiative that you're working on that you want to get put in place. It's kind of a long-term thing. So you have some kind of a long-term project that you're working on that it might be ongoing, but it might have kind of a clear end date for at least for the year. So it's not something that's just sort of business and usual. It's something that's extra. And then you may have some short-term projects, and then you might have some things that are just, you're always going to have to do those things in your job. They're not going to really end. They're just sort of ongoing procedures. And I wanted to just, when you're thinking about your productivity plan, I wanted you to give you two concepts that you can use to think about this. This is used for a lot of teams in business and in the corporate setting, and it's the concept of projects versus operations. So I think this can be really helpful because this is what a lot of teams use to work together when they're doing basic operational things and big projects that need to, again, have a specific end date. It's not something that we necessarily talk about in the schools, but I think it could be very helpful to you and to working with your team in order to help you to tease out some of those things that need to go in your master plan. So when we think about projects, those are things that they have a clearly defined beginning and end. They're things that are typically above and beyond just basic business as usual. And they are things that, again, you can figure out what your endpoint is, you can figure out what done is, and you can work backwards, whether this be something long-term, that's initiative that you want to do this entire year, or whether it's something that maybe you could do within the next 90 days or even the next month or couple weeks. So what I want you to do when you are doing your master plan is that you want to separate your project work from your operations work. So what is operations work? Operations work would be things that you're going to have to do every day, regardless of what project you're working on. So this would be things like, again, you have your normally scheduled sessions. Every year you have paperwork and evaluation. So you need to have some kind of a process or some operating procedures with how you plan your IEPs. Yes, for specific IEPs, there's a specific beginning and end thing, but you do want to have operating procedures for how you map that out for the entire year. So one IEP might be a specific project, but your process for keeping track of all your IEPs would be in your operating procedures. So that would be something that you would do kind of more in your operations. The other thing that would be operations would be things that you have to do every day. And this could be things like checking your email, doing your Medicaid billing, anything that is just, this is what I have to do every day, every week, every month, every quarter, etc. So you want to figure out project, operation. Now, when you think about this, what you want to do first, and what I recommend doing, is that if you have something that is your kind of a long-term project that you're adding, I would start with figuring out what done looks like and work backwards. Put that into your schedule first, figure out how you're going to block that out, and then you can start putting in some of those basic operational things. You can kind of play around with it and see what works, but I recommend you trying it this way, just because a lot of times it's easy to get stuck in the operational day-to-day things and just sort of forget about those long-term things. So separate those two things in your mind as you are using that master plan. and ask yourself the question of, is this a project with a clearly defined, this is done, versus is this something that is day-to-day operations? The reason being is that if it's something that's ongoing, that could be something where you do spend some time coming up with a good process for some of those day-to-day things to streamline them so that you do have more bandwidth for this project-based work over here. That could be some of your above and beyond projects that you do to help your school, help your facility, and those types of things. So separate that out. The place that you want to go to get this information and to apply this information would be in the core training. So if you're the School of Clinical Leadership, what you're going to want to do is that you're going to want to go to the master plan, which is in core training. And then you're going to go to that information would be in your productivity section right here. Obviously, you're going to want to take a look at this because that's going to give you an idea of what your projects might be that you want to work on. But this is going to give you an idea of how to actually map out those projects versus your operations in your master plan. And that's going to be how you're planning your day-to-day. That's what's going to help you to actually get all of those things done. They're both important. You have to do your day-to-day things, but it's also important for your well-being and for you feeling good about your work to be able to do those project-based things as well. So separate that out in your head or in a list as you are doing this master plan. That's just another way for you to think about this and to figure out how you're blocking out your time. So what you can do this month, if you have any takeaways from this video, from your master plan, you can post them in the comments below this video. Or again, you can just use this to help you to think about those things that you use on that master plan.